In this video, we're going to look at our last little part on oligopolists, and that's looking at public policy as well as some controversial situations that come up with our oligopolists. So with this, compared to markets, so we think about our oligopolists, right? Compared to markets, we're going to see is that we're going to have higher prices and lower quantity produced. But compared to a monopoly, we're going to see lower prices and a higher quantity of goods produced. And we can look back on that example that's using Sprint and Verizon. Right, so oligopolies are better for consumers and society than monopolies, but they're not quite as good as the market situation. And the more competitors we have, we're going to see that the better off, overall better off, especially according to our models, will be as a result of having more competition. So when we think about government, our public policy, one of the big things that we're going to see is that our policymakers are going to try to get oligopolists to compete rather than cooperate. That is, we don't want oligopolists to be colluding. We don't want them to cooperate, right? We want them to compete with each other. We want lower prices. We don't want anti-competitive practices to take place. And to do this, what they're going to be doing is they're going to be moving in this policy, the idea is to move the allocation of resources closer to our social optimum, which is which at this point is the market equilibrium. So a couple types, the main type of public policy we have to do this is called antitrust laws. We kind of talked about this with the monopolists, but the key two things we're doing here is we're preventing mergers. That is, we're preventing two companies from becoming one company, becoming too powerful. And the other thing that we're preventing is collusion. So we're going to prevent a oligopolist. So if you and I own the last two gas stations for 300 miles, the government's going to say, hey, you can't collude and charge $10 a gallon for gas because you're the last gas station for 300 miles, right? So we prevent that collusion, and we also want to keep an eye on our mergers, right? We're not necessarily getting rid of any type of merger, but we're not going to let two companies have this merger and then control 80 or 90% of the market. At least that's the goal. So some controversies that come up and some practices that we see in real life that could be controversial, but also could be legitimate. The first one's called fair trade. And when we look at this, we're saying that a manufacturer's going to come in and say, you can't charge lower than a certain price for our good. Right? We see this very commonly with things like Nintendo Switch, Google Home. A lot of our electronics we see this with. And the idea is, so if we think about the Google Home, Google is going to tell Best Buy, Amazon, well, not Amazon, but they're going to tell Best Buy, Walmart, and other online retailers that you have to sell our product for $129.99. And one of the things you'll notice, when Google has a discount, everybody has a discount. And one of the idea, and on the front, this looks like it's going to reduce competition because I'm not allowed to come in and sell it at a lower profit margin than anybody else. But we're going to see that this maybe has some advantages. And the big thing that we're going to do, it's going to prevent our discount retailers from this free riding on the services provided by full service retailers. And the example for this, if you think about Best Buy, how many times have you gone into Best Buy, looked at a computer, right, played around with it, and then went home and bought it on Amazon or bought it from some discount retailer? With our fair trade or this price maintenance, what we're seeking to do is say, what they might say is, all right, it's not fair to Best Buy that you go in, use their equipment, and take advantage of their free service. So instead of having it where you can go in there and get it cheaper on Amazon, they're going to provide this price maintenance, and that's going to kind of put Best Buy at that same level as the online retailers, because the online retailers don't have as much costs. They don't have to pay for prime location. They don't have to pay salespeople to tell you about the product or anything like that. Second thing we see is predatory pricing. And this is kind of what Walmart is. Walmart has historically been infamous for this. And what they would do is they charge a very low price to start out with to drive out competition and then raise prices in the future. This practice is illegal under antitrust laws, but the difficulty in this that we see is, how do we know if we're having predatory pricing or we just have lower costs, right? So maybe I'm getting my stuff so cheap that I can sell it and still make a profit. And that's something where this gets kind of hard to enforce or legislate. And when I have these price cuts, it is going to be beneficial to the consumers. So it's kind of harder to say, oh, you can't charge consumers a low price. Oftentimes we think this is not really rational, because it does involve selling at a loss. And this backfiring could be, right, so Walmart comes into a town, runs everywhere else out of business. But if everyone else is out of business, then who's going to shop at Walmart, right? So it kind of creates could create this little loop of negativity for the town and for the firm that is practicing predatory pricing. The third practice that we see is called tying. And we see this a lot on Black Friday and at GameStop. And what we'll do is we'll put two products together and sell them for the price of one. So if you buy a computer, you get your computer, but with it, you get Internet Explorer, right? Everybody who has a Windows computer has Internet Explorer, and everyone who has a Mac has Safari. So, or they at least have it pre-installed when they get it. The critical side of this is that it's going to give market power by connecting these weak products to stronger ones. So a lot of people want Windows. Not a lot of people care for Internet Explorer. But because Internet Explorer is on Windows computers, more people use it despite it not being universally preferred. The less critical side of this is that it doesn't really change market power. So if I were buying a computer, I'm not going to spend $800 on a computer than an extra $100 on Internet Explorer, right? And the idea of bundles, when we think about them in general, you think about Black Friday sales with Xbox. Last year they had NBA 2K18 on the Xbox One for like $199, right? So they had this sale. We could say because of this, because people are getting 2K18 in the bundle, they're not going to buy the EA Sports version of the NBA game. But the other side is, since they have the bundle, people are saving money. Again, kind of like the predatory pricing. People are better off because I'm getting a console and a game for less than I could otherwise, right? So I'm not paying $300 to get them combined compared to $260 separate. And that's where kind of the advantage of tying comes in, is it can be used for price discrimination, right? So if you're the one, you would buy an Xbox top price and not have anything attached to it, right? You'll spend that. But if you're willing to wait for the sale, or you're willing to wait till the price goes down a little bit, you get to take advantage of this tying offer, and you get to take advantage of this bundle. Tying is also one of the ways that certain companies can get around that fair trade that we talked about. And that, so if you think about like GameStop, right? Why would you go to GameStop instead of Best Buy? Well, maybe GameStop has the same bundle, but then they throw in a $50 gift card, right? Which we saw happen last Black Friday. So these are kind of three practices that we see. Kind of controversial on one end. On the other end, we see kind of advantages or in tax where they're kind of unrealistic or unrational. Have a good day. As always, if you need anything, let me know. Also, in this video, I got a new mic. If you notice a difference, let me know. If it's better, worse, let me know. Just that way I know how the quality of these videos are. Have a good day. End that meeting.